Hi, I'm Dogwood Initiative's No Tankers Director, Eric Swanson.
And I'm Will Horter, Executive Director.
We're going to be telling you a little bit about how our recent intervention in the BC Liberal leadership race went. But first I want to emphasize Dogwood Initiative's founding mission, which really is to bring people to points of power, either political power or corporate power, because we very much believe that politics belongs to those who organize themselves and show up. And I'm really, really proud of everybody who joined the BC Liberal Party as part of our initiative, as part of the initiative of other environmental organizations, because this is the thing we have to continue to do more and more often, is to actually really get involved in the center of politics and assert our power and our influence. So thank you so much to everybody who joined up and participated.
Yeah, I mean, in the last 26 hours before the membership window closed, around 1,000 people signed up, and that's really unprecedented. So many that it actually shut down our internet server.
Yeah, it was quite amazing. The whole point of this was to see if we could get the next Premier of British Columbia on side for a legislative tanker ban, because right now Enbridge is shopping around Alberta and Asia looking for companies to find firm commercial agreements for their Enbridge pipeline and oil tanker project. And we figured that if the next Premier of British Columbia came on side, that sends a huge signal of risk to the company and to those potential investors, because they're surveying the project, they're seeing who's lined up against it, who's lined up for it, and they make a decision about whether to support it on those grounds. And if we had the next Premier lined up against the project and in favor of a legislative tanker ban, it could have been the death knell for the project, really. So we weren't successful in getting the next Premier on side, but we certainly came close, and Will's going to give you a little bit of the inside scoop on how all that went.
Yeah, well, the behind-the-scenes conversations with the various different leadership teams, you know, the tanker ban was actually in play. We were getting text messages right up till Friday at noon before the vote, but at the end of the day, we weren't able to push them over the top and get a public commitment. Why? We don't exactly know. We know that you know, the tanker ban would again run against the narrative that they were trying to develop around this is the new free enterprise party. And also specifically about, you know, the linkages that all the candidates are talking about and opening up with Asia and China. So the bad news that came out of this is Christy Clark actually made a statement that she's not in support of a tanker ban. Well, we don't think she understood or was fully briefed on that, so we're going to push back on that. The other thing is her transition team. She named 2 people to the transition team that have strong ties to the oil and gas industry. The first is Roger Harris, the former MLA from the Skeena riding, who was actually working for Enbridge up until recently. And the second person is Gwyn Morgan, who's a longtime executive in the oil and gas industry and very, very close to Stephen Harper. The good news is for the first time, the environmentalists and Dogwood supporters flexed their muscle in one of these electoral contexts, and I think it's going to actually be noticed. Particularly on Vancouver Island and in the Kootenays, folks signed up in record numbers and actually influenced the vote. Electoral politics is about one of 2 things, either being able to get somebody elected or actually keep somebody from getting elected. And the story that hasn't been told yet is in this election, actually the environmental vote prevented Kevin Falcon from being elected. The stats are really clear. In 14 of the 20 ridings that he polled lowest in were the ridings that Dogwood Initiative and the other groups were actually organizing in. So that bodes very well for the kind of organizing we're doing to prepare for the federal election.
So Christy Clark spent a lot of her time in this campaign distinguishing herself from Gordon Campbell, the HST, and other issues. She wanted to blaze a new trail. And one of the things she emphasized a lot was the need to actually listen to British Columbians, because that's not something Gordon Campbell and the Liberal government has been known for recently, is listening. So if that is the case, if she's continuing, if she's committed to listening to British Columbians, then we're in a good place, because a vast majority of British Columbians, 80%, polls show support a legislative tanker ban. So our mission going forward is to make everything, or make sure we can do everything in our power in the provincial sphere to make ourselves heard.
Well, it's really clear that British Columbians are not going to be ignored on this, and with the upcoming NDP leadership race, I think there's going to be many opportunities to raise this issue going forward. Also with potentially a federal election on the horizon. So British Columbians, let's be heard, and let's make sure that there's no tankers in BC waters.